Hello, everyone. We're going to get recording at this time. And I really want to thank everyone for being with us this evening. An idea that a number of us we're talking about together, the challenge that we have right now in our communities. On the one hand, we're in the midst still of this pandemic, which is making us all quite anxious, as it should be. At the same time, the weather is getting beautiful outside, and we want our families and our kids to be out and about and enjoying the weather and even enjoying each other. And I think many families we're feeling really challenged about how we're going to set the right standards for our kids and the right guidelines, and helping make sure that they're in position to be successful and safe. Safe for themselves and safe for others as well while they're out there. And it was really wonderful that we had a reception from so many parts of our faith communities here in White Plains. I brought up the idea to Councilman Brasch, who will speak in a moment, when we talked about the ways in which we might involve our families in this. And I reached out to my colleagues in the White Plains religious leaders listserv about coming together, and I shared it with my other rabbinic colleagues as well. And I look now, and we have already 90 people on this call, which is just wonderful. That means that we're all, we reached a nice cross section of people, and people are really interested in hearing how to best parent and how to best be a kid in this in the present environment. I'm going to invite Councilman Justin Brasch to say a few words, and then we're going to introduce our special speakers for the evening. So please, Justin.
I am so pleased that there are so many people in the room tonight. This is a terribly important issue. I want to thank Rabbi Martyr. Am I frozen or? Well, I'll speak anyway. Can everybody hear me?
No, you're good. Keep on going.
Can you hear me? Oh, we're good. Good.
Yes,
okay, so I'm so pleased that there's so many people here. This is a terribly important issue. Okay. COVID-19 is real. COVID-19 is very real. I normally, as most of you know, do not wear a beard. I have a beard as a sign of mourning because my mother passed away, and it was related to COVID-19. And we all need to do our utmost, and that's why we are all here. As the weather's getting warmer, we all need to figure out how to do this better. So Rabbi Martyr and a few others contacted me and said, how can we figure out how to do this better? As chairman of the White Plains Youth Bureau, I work all the time with Captain Spencer, and I knew that he would be the one to figure out how to teach us and teach our children and how to socially distance and how to be better as we decide to go to the beach, go on bicycles, go to the park, and do the things we all want to do now that the weather is better. So I am extremely grateful to Captain Spencer for organizing this and bringing Officer Christina Brown to help teach us how to be safe and how to keep our families and everyone else safe in White Plains. So again, I want to thank everyone. I want to take one moment to thank my council colleague, Vicky Presser, for being on the line. And if I've missed anybody else, please forgive me. So thank you, Rabbi Martyr. Thank you, Captain Spencer and Officer Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you, Justin, for really making our connections. Our speakers this evening are Captain Jimmy Spencer, the Commander in the Office of Investigation and Community Policy, and Police Officer Christina Brown, who's Senior School Resource Officer, and they're gonna help give us some guidance. We're gonna ask everyone to please remain muted, but if you have questions, please post them in the chat, and I'll try to make sure that they're addressed as we move through our brief presentation. Our goal is to have us have a valuable connection right now and be finished before 8 o'clock for sure, even around 7:45. Captain Spencer, it's yours.
Thank you, Rabbi Martyr and Councilman Brasch. On behalf of the White Plains Department of Public Safety, Commissioner David Chong, my boss, Chief of Police, Joseph Castelli. I just want to thank you guys for convening this forum. It's an awesome opportunity for us to get out into the community and share some ideas. And I think rather than saying that Christina and I are going to teach, I think we're all going to learn together. And I want to note that there's over 90, not 90, over 100 families on, not people, 100 families on the line. So hopefully this can be interactive and we can all learn together. Also like to thank the Hebrew Institute for the assistance and coordinating this as well. So my name is Jimmy Spencer. I'm a captain with the City of White Plains Police Department. I've been a police officer here for almost 21 years. My current position, I have the responsibility of commanding criminal investigations and community policing. Tonight I have my community policing hat on, which is actually the funnest hat to wear because I get out, I'm able to get out and engage with the community. And tonight I have police officer extraordinaire, Christina Brown. Chris, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
She's good. She's good.
My name is Christina Brown. I've been with the police department for 11 years now. I'm currently assigned as the school resource officer for White High School.
I think, Christina, I think we lost your audio.
Lost my audio? Can you hear me now?
I guess you talk a little louder.
Talk a little louder?
Talk a little louder.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, my name is Christina Brown. I'm with the city.
No, don't worry about it. So we're gonna, I guess we're gonna call an audible and we're gonna don our masks and you can come on in my office and
Okay.
we'll do this, we'll tag team the presentation from here. We'll just
There we go. We're going to model social distancing right now.
All
we'll
right.
follow some of the CDC guidelines right now. When you can't social distance, we're gonna have to
Right,
wear,
correct.
not over the eyes, Jim, over the mouth and nose. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Got your mask?
Got my mask.
Sorry. So again, Chris, you want to just briefly introduce yourself so we get the show on the road?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. All right. So sorry, Cap, but my name is Christina Brown. I'm with the City of White Plains Police Department. I've been with the police department for 11 years now. I'm currently assigned as the school resource officer at White Plains High School. And I'm also a resident of White Plains, born and raised. And it's a pleasure to be here with you all today, just to give the community a little bit of education as we're going through this health crisis.
That's right. So the presentation tonight is youth outreach, COVID-19. The weather is getting nicer. We all want to be outside enjoying the nice weather. And hopefully we can offer some guidelines to help us make better decisions or best decisions on how to do so safely. So Chris, why don't you start and explain what coronavirus is?
All right, so coronavirus, commonly known as COVID-19, is a virus that causes a respiratory illness that can spread from person to person. The spread can happen via surface, contact, and or personal transmission, coughing, sneezing, etc. According to the CDC, there have been other types of coronaviruses. However, COVID-19 is a new, novel virus that has not been seen in humans. Therefore, there's no vaccine, there's no treatment, and we're all just learning this as we go along.
So when you say spread person to person, surface contact, that means if I'm infected and I touch something and walk away, and then you come behind me and you touch it, it may risk you getting infected.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
how it works.
And I guess that the fact that there's no vaccine yet, it's really scary because, if we're having a hard time dealing with this, or if there's some people that can't recover from this, we have to just use our best judgment to prevent the spread.
So during this process, it's important that we ask you to keep yourself safe, keep all of us safe. It's up to us, each of us, to protect all of us. So that means use caution, avoid touching, wash your hands frequently, maintain 6 feet distance, social distancing. My mask protects you, like my mask right now protects Captain Spencer, and his mask protects me.
Other things to keep in mind as we go on with this presentation, just want to mention a few things. Officer Brown mentioned social distancing. Being socially distant means being out of close proximity of another person or group, right? So the accepted minimum distance is 6 feet, which is a little less than the width of a standard parking space. So that means if I'm in a parking lot and I'm in a parking space, and then there's an empty space, and then someone that I'm being distant from is in the next space, then we have an adequate minimum distance between us. The width of a standard parking space, a little less than that width. Asymptomatic. As we go on, we're going to speak about someone being asymptomatic. That merely means being infected with the COVID virus and being contagious without having any symptoms, which is really scary because you can be infected and be able to transmit this virus, and you wouldn't even know that you're sick. So it's really scary because you might pass this on to the next term, which is vulnerable population, who are typically people who are older and or have underlying medical issues, compromised immune system, who can't fight off the virus, as well as young folk. So we have to be very careful and act like we all have the virus and behave like we should be preventing the spread as if we can.
Captain, it got harder to hear you, Captain.
Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately, it sounds like you're a little muffled right now. But the volume kind of went out, the mic went out.
Hold on 1 second.
Do you happen to have a headset? Okay.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed. You are in the meeting now. There are more than.
I find, Captain Spencer, that sometimes turning your mic on and off makes it work.
I got it. Can you hear me again?
Okay. Awesome.
Great.
Actually,
Can you hear me
great.
again?
Much better. Can I ask?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
we can hear you well.
I
Can I
dialed
actually
in.
ask you, Captain?
All right.
Excellent. Okay. Can I actually ask you, you gave an example of 6 feet. This is how some of our kids on the phone can, or on the Zoom can better appreciate it as being the width of a parking space. So that, most of them aren't drivers yet to think of that. Would you say like the length of a full-size bike from the front wheel to the back wheel might be close to 6 feet?
Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. A full, like an adult 10-speed bike, the front to back, that's probably about 6 feet.
Okay, that's a good way to think of the kids. Yeah.
And we're going to use that distance because it's less likely if we're at least 6 feet apart from each other to transmit the virus from one another. Okay. And again, I'm going to reiterate, we, you know, a lot of folks are asymptomatic with this virus, and that means that they're infected and contagious, but they don't have any symptoms. So they can spread the virus to vulnerable populations, typically people who are older and have underlying medical issues or compromised immune system that can't fight off the virus like the majority of us, all right? The last term I want to go over is household group. It's going to become very important as we go on in the presentation. A household group, those people who normally live together in the same household. And that can mean those living in the same apartment for, you know, multiple dwellings. I mean, if you live in an apartment building, it does not mean the entire apartment building. It means the apartment that one family typically lives in. If it's a 5-family house, it does not mean the entire house. It means the one apartment in that 5-family house that one family eats and sleeps together. That's going to be important as we talk about outdoor recreation. Okay. So we have guidelines from the state. The governor announced New York State on pause. He gave us 10 points plan to follow. The guidelines is to be safe. But 3 of those guidelines are more pertinent to this conversation tonight. Guideline number 4
When in public, individuals must practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. We already described what that 6 feet looks like. Number 6, individuals should limit outdoor recreational activities to non-contact and avoid activities where they come in close contact with other people. And that's to prevent transmission of the virus. And number 9, young people should also practice social distancing and avoid contact with vulnerable populations. It's because those young people are more likely to be asymptomatic, get infected with that disease without knowing that they're infected, which might lead to easy transmission to vulnerable populations, those folks that can't really fight off the virus. So there's good news and bad news, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Right? Who's gonna take the bad news? Me?
You take the bad news.
I'll take the bad news. All right. Bad news first. Playgrounds and school fields are closed currently, and playgrounds will probably be the last to open. And that's because of the surface contact issue. If I grab the monkey bars and I'm sick and I walk away, that virus can maintain on the monkey bars for up to a couple of days. So you can come and hang out on the monkey bars one, 2, 3 days later, and it's possible that you may get infected with the virus. All the courts are closed. The basketball courts, racquetball courts, handball courts, tennis courts, with one exception right now, and we'll talk about that later, are all closed because those are the places where you're going to be playing sports that you can't socially distance from you really need to be in close contact to engage in those sports. And speaking of sports, no organized sport activities in the city. That means no team sports, no soccer, no basketball, no football, no baseball, etc. And that's to prevent close contact. That was one of the guidelines that was spelled out in the governor's 10-point plan. And this doesn't necessarily mean organized team sports, in that a group of friends that do not belong to the same household group can't get together for a pickup game of any kind either. So just be cognizant of the fact that team sports are a no-go right now. And I say right now because this is not going to last forever. And there are metrics that we're meeting in different regions of the state that will allow us to relax some of these guidelines. As far as enforcement of the guidelines, the White Plains Police Department is actually obligated to enforce these guidelines. We've already begun with an education campaign. Just like tonight, we're out teaching everyone what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable. Our officers have a lot of empathy. I know I do. I have a teenage son, and I realize the fact that, the weather is nicer, and he wants to get out and hang out with his friends. So we understand, and there's a balance between public health and your liberty to just get out and about, and that's what America is all about. And we're balancing that, and that empathy comes from the top all the way down, from the chief of police to every officer, so we get it. But for egregious defiance of the guidelines, we have to issue fines, and for the most egregious, there's other liability as well. So there is some enforcement, but we really appreciate this opportunity because we really need the community to cooperate with this. This is not an enforcement thing. There's no way that the White Plains Police Department could make sure that all 64,000 White Plains residents socially distance from each other at the same time. We're here to ask for the community's cooperation. So enough of the bad news.
So there's a lot of bad news.
What about the good news?
Yeah.
Right,
Do we have good news? Yes, we got good news.
Yes, finally some good news. The good news is it's not going to last forever. The spread of the virus is decreasing. However, we must continue to keep ourselves safe to protect others. Young people should also practice social distancing and avoid contact with vulnerable populations.
That's right.
You don't want to go home and get your grandmother or your grandfather sick.
That's right.
We are allowed to go outside for outdoor recreational activities, as described in the governor's executive order. Individuals should limit outdoor recreational activities to non-contact though, and
That's
avoid activities where they come in close contact with other people.
That's right. No team sports.
No team sports at all. More good news. So the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Oh, you know what? So I just want to, if I can, just give a shout out to the White Plains Department of Recreation and Park. I've been in constant communication with Deputy Commissioner Fran Krogan, who's given me some insight on a lot of the good news, a lot of things that are available to us. So I just want to shout them out, Commissioner Wayne Bass and Deputy Commissioner Fran Krogan.
Absolutely.
She told me all about tennis. So.
Well, everyone loves their tennis. White Plains High School, as of right now, White Plains High School tennis court guidelines are as follows. Court time must be pre-scheduled to play. Reservations are taken from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. However, it's only for City of White Plains residents only. You have to provide proof of address, driver's license, or recreation pass as ID must be presented at check-in.
Yep.
You can call the number provided, 914-263-3884, a day prior to reserve a specific time. The court times are listed, as you can see. The play limited time is 70 minutes. There's 10 courts available. 2 players required to book a court. Single play only, no double play. Arrive no more than 10 minutes prior to play. Your mask always has to be on during check-in. No loitering prior or after play. Always maintain social distancing at all times.
Yep.
And also, June 1st, Gilly Park is open for tennis, single player only as well.
Yeah, the same guidelines are going to apply.
Yes.
So right now, tennis is available at White Plains High School, and as of June 1st, Gilly Park will be open for tennis as well. So that's some good news.
Yeah.
Some more good news.
So some more good news, the city parks are open. The green grass areas at Tenor Park, Gilly Park, and Delfino Park are all available. CDC guidelines must be practiced. Once again, 6 feet apart, social distancing, masks or face coverings must be worn, and passive recreation only. Examples of that are bike riding, running, walking, jogging, relaxing, etc. However, there are exceptions for household group members. So if a household group is tossing a ball with each other, that's allowed.
Right. The household groups can interact with each other.
Right.
Because they're being, they're under the same household anyway. So
Absolutely.
that's the exception to the passive recreation only rule, which includes biking and walking and actually having a meal in the park. If you want to sit down and have lunch and enjoy yourself in the park, that's fine as well. As long as you keep aware that 6 feet social distancing is practiced. Yeah.
So that's all the grassy
Rabbi?
areas, but not the playground equipment, right? Yeah, so that we can't use the playground
That's
equipment
right.
though, right? Is that what
No
you're saying?
playground.
Okay.
No playground, only the grassy green areas. Because in the playgrounds, if I grab the monkey bars and walk away from it, that surface contact is still there. We haven't really gotten to the point where we're comfortable that we can mitigate that virus transfer in the playgrounds. The slides, the monkey bars, the swings, all grabbable areas when you use that equipment. So just the grassy areas for right now. But again, as things get better, different parts of the state are going to be open up different guidelines.
And you know what, Cap, before you move on, we just recently learned about the track.
Oh, that's right. So just today we learned that the high school, actually the school's tracks are open, not the school fields, but the school tracks are open for jogging, walking, and running.
Awesome.
So I guess I need to update this presentation. That just happened today. Dr. Ricker was actually on Fox Business News speaking about the opening of schools this fall. More good news.
More good news.
What we got?
So, Bicycle Sunday has started. Bronx River Parkway is open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So folks can get out?
They can get out.
And get on the
bike. As long
bike?
as the weather's good, get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise.
And that Bronx River, the entrance to that Bike Sunday is right here on Main Street.
Right on Main Street.
Yep.
There'll be officers out there to assist, to get bikers across the street safely, and that begins 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Safety is always first, so you must wear your helmet, and as always, your mask or your face coverings must be worn. Keep social distance unless you're with your immediate family. Bike riding is also allowed within the city or open parking lots.
Yep.
As always, follow the CDC guidelines, social distance, mask, face coverings, and of course, wear your helmet.
So we've seen that. We've seen
All the
families
time.
get out to like an office park, open parking lot, and they're riding around the parking lot and getting some exercise. And it's safer than being on the streets. But you still have to, use your best judgment and be careful in the parking lot. Like you said, wear your helmets, face coverings, and get out there and enjoy yourself.
The Gidney Trail is also open. The route for the Gidney Trail begins at Gidney Way and Bryan Avenue, and it goes all the way down to the Scarsdale border.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty Park is also open. For those who like to fish, fishing is available for adults and children. However, adults need a fishing permit. The golf courses are open. Maplemore and Saxon Woods are available.
So
can I ask a clarifying question, if I could, about the bike riding and mask wearing? So I get the sense that when people are biking in lots of people around, you have to wear a mask. If it's kind of a big open area and a few people are bike riding, kids or adults, when do they need to wear a mask and when could they not wear a mask?
So we spoke about social distancing. Hey, Chris, can you step back with 6 feet? So if you're 6 feet away from the next person, you don't need a mask. And you can speak because there's less likely transmission from your breathing or coughing or sneezing after 6 feet. There are times,
Especially
though,
outdoors.
especially like when you're, biking up the parkway. Yeah, when you're outdoors, when you're riding and it's 6 feet between you, you don't need a mask. But there, like on the parkway, there's times where you have to come to a stop, things bottle up, there's a bottleneck, and there's no way to socially distance. You should really be popping that mask back on because you do not want to spread the virus to other folks. So as long as you can maintain 6 feet social distance or the width of that car or the length of that adult 10-speed bicycle, you don't need to wear a mask. But be prepared because when things get tight, you really need to be donning your mask, and you really need to be letting other people know to don their mask as well. Did that answer your question, Rabbi?
Yeah, that was a helpful clarification. Yeah.
Cool.
So Captain, just a quick thing. Sometimes a group of boys is on a bicycle or on bicycle sort of in a pack. They should be, if you're in a pack of boys on bikes, don't you think you should probably be wearing a mask?
You should. So a couple of things. Shouldn't be in a pack, and there's the exception to this rule is household group. So if it's a pack of boys that live in the same household, in the same apartment, in the same house, then it's fine for them to be in a pack. Outside of that, we should be exercising and practicing social distancing, which means the width of that car, the length of that 10-speed bike. But there, that's when practical. If there's a time and place where you can't practice social distancing, then you should be throwing on that mask. But that should only be a temporary thing, right? Because social distancing is the best way to mitigate the transfer of the virus. Cool? So again, when you're using those public parks and trails, first and foremost, don't use the parks and trails if you're exhibiting symptoms. If you're coughing, sneezing, if you have a headache, if you've been achy, if you have stomach virus, anything that is symptomatic of the COVID virus, you should be checked out by a medical professional. And you shouldn't be using the parks until you're clear to do so. All right? Follow the CDC. Yes.
Of course, there many folks have seasonal allergies, so we can rely on people to kind of know a little bit about themselves. If they're wheezing or whatever, and they know it's from allergies, then people can be responsible enough to figure that one out, right?
Yeah, we have to use our best judgment. I think we know our bodies best, but if you are exhibiting symptoms, that are similar to symptoms of the COVID, I would recommend that you at least do a teleconference with a medical professional just to make sure that you shouldn't be going in to see medical attention. All right. But always follow the CDC's guidance on personal hygiene. Wash your hands as often as you think about it while you're out and about. If you can carry some hand sanitizer, that's going to be very helpful. Be prepared for limited access to public restrooms and water fountains because they're going to be closed. We're going to try to prevent that transfer of surface contact. So bring a water bottle and make sure that you have access to a vehicle that you can get to a bathroom if need be. Share the trail and warn other trail users of your presence when you pass so they can don the mask. And always observe the minimum recommended social distancing of 6 feet, the width of a car, the length of a 10-speed bicycle. We're going to remain hopeful. The White Plains Department of Parks and Recreation and the White Plains Youth Bureau, Justin Brasch, the chairman of the Mayor's Youth Board, everyone's working hard to prepare for a safe summer. I'd also like to acknowledge Mayor Roach, who is supportive of everything White Plains. We're all cautiously optimistic about camps and pools being open for the summer for fun, but right now we're going to have to stay tuned. Okay? For more information regarding the COVID-19 response and resources available on White Plains, please visit the City of White Plains website at www.cityofwhiteplains.com. And if you want more information about the COVID itself, the CDC website is up on the screen as well. What do you say, Chris?
All right, so we continue to ask you guys to please stay safe, stay healthy. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Once again, just use caution, avoid touching, wash your hands as frequent as possible. Whenever you think about it, just do it. Maintain 6 feet distance. You know, my mask protects you, and your mask protects me.
Mask for all. Our email addresses are up on the screen. If anyone wants to reach out to us, feel free to do so. And we thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presentation and even your modeling the 6 feet for us and this how to actually behave when we can't keep that distance. There are a few. Let me invite other questions, especially I'd love any kids to ask questions too. Although I'm sure that some of them questions that have come up on the chat screen are even from kids too. One question I think that was posed was whether glove wearing is something that is seen as necessary or helpful or not the same as the others. Another one was a question about lakes and rivers and pools and whether they were safe in terms of the bodies of water not transmitting any illness. Right.
So for that information, I would like to direct you to the CDC website for answers. But what I will say is one of the things that I've learned and I've noticed is that when folks wear gloves, they're less likely to, or they're more cognizant when their hands are up and around their faces. Same thing with masks. Like if I have a mask on, before I'm up here, I typically do this to readjust my mask. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I would say that for me, wearing gloves would help me be more aware of where I'm touching. So I hope that answers your question. To get into more detail, though, please go to that CDC website.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Another question, and people are looking for a little bit more clarification about kids riding bikes. We use the word packs, which is maybe might not be the right definition for this or not. But if the kids are
I don't know. In my day,
wearing masks or not,
when I was a kid, we rode bikes in packs. That's what we did. So I think it's probably accurate.
Right. Okay. So I guess the question I want to know is, again, do they need to wear a mask, or if they're 6 feet apart, then that's okay? And what should a citizen do? That's one of the other questions I was asked here. What should a citizen do if they see kids and let's say generally kids or even adults who are not practicing the social distancing or the mask wearing when they're close? Should they call the police or just say pull them over and be a
So again, the best advice I would have for young folks getting out on bicycles is to utilize social distancing. It's really not that far, but it's enough to prevent the spread of the virus. And when you're utilizing social distancing, you don't need the mask on. So I would advise folks to utilize social distancing, not necessarily wear the mask when bike riding, unless they get to a point where they're all congregated and then you throw the mask back on. As far as other residents policing young folks, what we've learned, and I didn't mention it during the presentation, I'm glad you brought it up, is when we've encountered, most of the time when we've encountered situations where some of the guidelines aren't being followed to the T, once the police officer has reminded them of the guidelines, they automatically go, oh, that's right, I forgot I'm supposed to be doing this, and it's a reminder. It's more of a slip of the mind than someone being maliciously disobeying the guidelines. So I think what we can do as neighbors is to remind our young folks, hey, you want to be safe, you want to be healthy, you want to prevent the spread, please make sure you stay away from, you utilize social distancing and you use your mask. A reminder is going to go a long way.
Captain, though, I want to
Go
just
ahead.
clarify one thing, though. If you see bad behavior by a bunch of people and you're not comfortable, you should probably call the White Plains Police. Is that correct?
That's right. If there's something out of the scope, or if you don't want to get involved, absolutely. You can call the White Plains Police Department, and we'll send an officer out there to address the issue.
Right, without fearing that you're getting somebody locked up in jail for 10 weeks because of what you did. They're going to use the empathy and the education that you described earlier to help people do the right thing.
That's right. We're all in this together.
I want to add a great thing about our youth who are all on the phone. We have thousands and thousands of kids in the city of White Plains, and not one of our kids has been arrested at all during this entire time. And that's because everybody's pulling together and working together, and why everybody's on this call, because we want to make sure that everybody in our city is safe and doing the right thing.
And I'd like to add that we have good youth in our city, and we have an abnormally low level of youth arrests anytime, even prior to this COVID pandemic. So that's that goes to all the parents and the kids out there. So yeah.
Great. I think some of the other chat comments that have come up are really just about recognizing that the 6 feet thing can sometimes be a slip up, and so having that mask on the ready for sure is always necessary and valuable for everyone to have. There's a question here about tennis for family only. I think the implication was that no, as long as because you're on the other side of the court, right?
Nope.
Am I correct?
No. So two individuals who are not necessarily in the same household can schedule a tennis court time. They have to wear masks when they go to register, when they go to sign in for the court time. And then you're on opposite ends of the court, so you're automatically going to be socially distant. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be from the same household group.
Fantastic. I think we hit most of the good questions here. I just so much appreciate the fact that people saw this as to be a valuable evening. We had at our peak 138 different computers, including the four of us, but that's a lot of people who came on. Who are looking for the guidance and the support of one another, and it's such a testament to all the people on the call. And we want to especially again thank Captain Spencer and Police Officer Brown for your time with us here, and again to thank Justin Brasch for helping coordinate it, and our mayor, who's just been wonderful. I spoke to him today and yesterday, and he knows about this this evening and was encouraging of it all. And we really are blessed to live in this wonderful place with the great leadership that we have and the great police department that we have serving us as well. Thank you so much, everyone. We will have, this is a recording.
One last thank you. We have to thank Rabbi Martyr, and everybody should clap for him. He worked really hard to make this happen and to help all of us.
My great pleasure. My great pleasure. Okay, everyone, have a good night and get out there and enjoy the good weather.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.